All right. This is our second project based on HTML and CSS. Yesterday we were able to create QR code, simple page. So today we are going to be working on this design that we have here. And this is the desktop design, and at the same time we have the mobile design. So today we are going to learn about responsive design, which is a way of displaying content on the screen based on whatever the size that the user is using to view that your particular site or the web page. So it's not that you are creating two things. It's not that you are creating two separate sites, one for mobile, one for. That's how you do it before in the olden days. But now, with a lot of changes in CSS, you have one, but you can display different stuff based on the screen that the user is using there, like that. So, for example, before we start with the actual design, assuming I have this H1, which I just have this welcome to the products preview design or page, whatever you want to call it. So save. So, and clicking on go live so that we can see the results on the browser. And what do we want to do here? When we're on big screen, we want the colors to be red, and when we're on small screen, we want the color to be orange or any other color you want there, like that. But right now, nothing like that. So let me open the DevTools so that we can work with this thing easily, because with DevTools you have the emulator for different screen sizes, which is this. So as you can see, toggle device emulator. If it's not there, it will just show normal screen for you. But once you click on it, it's going to toggle the device emulator, which you can use to quickly preview how things is going to look like on different screen. This is just showing you how it's going to look like anytime you have a screen of this 375, which is like phone, or this small phone like this one, like that. So this can come with different view or different screen that you can use there. So let me open it again, the DevTools. And once it's open, it doesn't, like, that thing is not going to be there by default because I've already clicked on it before. So let me reduce this one so that we have enough screen. And as you can see, it's come with some of these predefined screen sizes under the responsiveness. But you can actually click on this and you see that it will show you different screen size that you want to use. For example, if you want to see how it's going to look like on iPhone SE, this is how it's going to look like, which is the same thing as this 375, because almost all these gadgets, they have a range of screen. Not that they have a specific one, but you only see that they're in a range of value. So for small screen or for mobile in general, they start from 0 all the way to around that 600 and so like that, like, or let's just say 700. So that's where you are going to see the mobile devices. Their screen is always within that range. It can be any one of them depending on the phone or the gadgets you are using there. As you can see, iPhone SE is 375, but if you go to 12 Pro now, as you can see, it's still that range of value, but little change there, like that. So this is how it's going to look like on this phone. And again, you need to be careful of these things. Zoom, because they say what to show you so that it doesn't cut out. As you can see, it's showing us 50% of that stuff. So if you want to see how it's going to actually look like, as you can see, this is 100%, which is really showing correctly. Not that part, oh, why is this thing not small like that? It's not small. This thing is just emulating it for you, not that. So when you are done, you still need to check it on that real device, so for you to know that this thing is actually working. On normal phone, some of them, or some of the browser you'll be using later on, they have all these something under them, like the toolbar under them. So all those things, you can see it's not showing here. So it's just showing you the preview of the stuff, which you can quickly use to see how your element are laid out. But you still need to test it on the real device later on when you are done, so that you can make the necessary adjustment that you need to do. But just know that once you test something here, 80% of the time, everything is always okay. It's just little changes that you might need to change based on the browser you are using to view, because this is not how the browser is going to look like on phone. is quite different. But this one is just emulating how things are going to look like. So you can click on any one of these to quickly switch between one screen to the other like that. So this is 1440, which is really big. Like this screen that you're seeing here is bigger than the actual system I'm using right now to record the stuff like that. So this one now is from year to year now is 1920 like that. So which means this one can actually emulate this 1440 at 100%. But as you can see, it's only showing us 65% of it because this screen is just around that 1300 and something. So there's no way it's going to give you 100% of that whatever screen. If I go to 100%, you see that it will reduce it because from year now to year it's just 948. But it's using that 948 now to emulate that 1440. But that's not the major thing. This is where you can switch from different screen based on the design. Because as you can see here now, we have the desktop and we have the mobile. So you can use this now to quickly switch between the desktop and the mobile view so that you see how things looks like. Or if you want to see it on a specific device, so it comes with some of these predefined size too for them. As you can see, this is iPhone 14 Pro, which is a 430 as the screen size. But majorly, all of them, they're always in this range of the screen that is down here. So all the mobiles, mobile small, you have mobile medium, you have the mobile large, then before you now get to tablet. And again, to tablet too is there if any one of them. As you can see, you have the iPad Air, as you can see, it's 820. But I think this mini, as you can see, that it is 768. So all those tablets that are in the range starting from 768 and above, all the way to this 1024. Like some tablet too that actually get to this 1024. But small laptop start from here, 1024, all the way up, depending on whatever the screen that you have like that. So, and you can quickly use this thing to see how things are going to look like on different screen. Now, what is it we want to do? We want to change the color. Even let's just change the background color of this page to red when we're on small screen, and when we're on big screen, we want it to be whatever that is there before, which is white. But when we're on the small screen, the background should be red. So how do you talk to CSS that you want something to happen in your styling based on the screen size? The first thing you need to have in your code is what we already have on this line 5. So this line is very important because, as you can see, is the one that is going to scale the page according to the size of the browser or whatever device you are using. If that line is not there, what we want to use now will not work. As you can see, it's setting the width to the device width. And again, too, you can actually zoom the stuff up or down. It's returning everything back to normal size based on whatever the screen that you are working on. Anytime we generate this thing, is always there. So you don't need to do anything, but that line must always be there. And anytime you're using this VS Code to generate the stuff, you know that it will always be there. But if you are typing it yourself, you have to make sure that you type this line as part of it. If not, when you want to be using all this stuff that I want to show you now, it will not work because the device now, the thing is not scaled according to the screen that you are currently using there. And how do we talk to the CSS that we want to do something based on the screen? So we have these art rules. We have a lot of art rules that you can use, and one of them is this media, which is what you can use to do something based on whatever the media that you want. And the major media here is screen. We have another media which is known as print. When you want to print something, most of the Gmail, when you go to Gmail, the way you see Gmail on the screen is different from when you want to print out anything from Gmail. It's because they actually have a style for printing. So you too, if you want to apply a style for printing, or you want something to happen when you're in print mode, you can actually use this print. So what you're saying here, whatever you want to do under this place, so it will only happen when you are printing something. For example, your body, the background is going to blue. So the only time you're going to see this background of blue is when you're in this mode, which is this printing mode. So going back to the page, nothing will happen. The only time you will see that background of blue is when you want to print and you already activate your, as you can see now, the blue is that. So it's when you're in this kind, another screen entirely. This is another media on its own. It's different from, but if you just apply your style, it will apply to this one and this one. Everything we'll be doing is just applying to all of them. But at some time, you want something to happen when you are printing, or you only want something to happen where you are on the screen like that. And that's the one we want to deal with, because who print these days? Nobody print again these days. You just send things to yourself online there, or you share the link and they'll go there and get whatever they need to get like that. So instead of us using these prints, what we can use is a screen, which is what is there, or if you don't put this in, it will apply to all of them. But again, too, this is not what we want like that, because we still need to add some extra condition. You can see it's not working because we are on the screen. This one is just as if you are not typing it at all, because it's going to apply to all of them, whether you are print or you are in the screen. But now let me use Ctrl P again, like that. So you can see now it's no more appearing in print because we are only focusing on the screen. But assuming I did not use that, it will apply to the two of them. And what do we want to do here? We want this stuff here to be based on a particular width of the screen that you are currently working on. And there's no way you are going to know the size of the user screen. What you do is that you put a range, because you know that whatever the screen they want to use, or whatever the screen of mobile or desktop or tablet, they are always in a form of a range. So there's no way you'll be targeting 390, 370. No. What you do is to target a range. So as long as you're in this range, this is what I want you to do for me for that particular screen. And how do you do that? So here we can actually add more condition by using and. So this is going to be another condition here. Again, this is going to be another condition, and you can continue like that depending on the number of condition you want to like. But I only do one like this because there's sometimes you need to add more conditions to this stuff. And what do you want to do here? We want to target the width. And you know, we are not targeting a specific width. We want to target a range of width. And you know, when you want to target a range, you either use this min width or you use max width. If it is the height too that you want to target, it will be max height, or so you are now in a range. You know, that max or min, they are not stopping at a particular value. What you are saying is from that value downward or from that value upward, not that you are targeting that particular screen. So here now we can just say max now, or width of 700 pixels. So what we are saying here is that this thing now, it will only apply this background blue on body if we are showing on the screen, like this thing is showing on the screen, not in the printing mode. And at the same time, the screen is less or equal to 7. You know, max, the maximum, it can't go to 7.1. The maximum you can have there is 700. So which is 700 downward to 0. Any screen between this and 0, just apply this. But if it is not, then nothing will happen. As you can see now, the background is no more showing because this screen is actually bigger than 700 like that. So we can bring this stuff in, and as you can see, because the screen is now less than 700, so keep increasing it. Once it hits 7.1, you see that it will change because the maximum, can you see? So 701, 700, it will work because that's what we said is going to be max. But once you enter 7.1, it will not go again, or it will not work because 7.1 is actually bigger than 700. So again, too, if you want something to happen from a particular screen upward, so instead of you using min, what is going to happen is you are going to use, instead of using max, you are going to use min like this. And as you can see, is when you are above 700, or that from that 700 and above, it will work. But anything less than 700 will not work. So that's how it works. So with this now, we can now apply some style based on a specific or a range of screen sizes that you want to target there. So when we are on small screen, this is not what we want. This is not how we want to arrange this content. We want them to stack on top of each of like this. But once we go to a tablet and above, then we want them to be side by side, because at that time we have enough space to put them side by side. But on phone, there is no space. So what you do is to stack them on top of each other. But when you are dealing with this design, we have two modes that we normally follow, because you don't just do it anyhow. So we have the mobile design first, and we have the desktop design first. So what does that mean? What that means is that most of your element, you focus more on mobile first. Like whatever you want to do, you start with the mobile, Then when you are done with the mobile, you now scale it up to the desktop. That means you are starting like you design for mobile first. Then after that, you now start, looking for where there is changes or where you need to change things on the desktop. Or you start with the desktop, which means your design, you are going to focus on this first. Then when you are done with this one, then you now scale it down to put something on the mobile. But doing desktop first is always like tedious to do like that, because on desktop there's a lot of things to show. So later on you now want to be hiding them as you are going down. So scaling up is always easy to do compared to like coming down, because when you are going up, what you just be doing is just little changes. But when you are coming down, you're going to do a lot of changes, because you need to start hiding a lot of things there. And again, you need to start changing a lot of things in that desktop, because the way you want things to appear on the mobile, that's not the way it is on the desktop. And again, if you don't change any value, it will not be using that desktop for the mobile. But it's always good that it's using the mobile one for the desktop. It's kind of easier to kind of like change things there easily. So you start with the mobile, then from there you start scaling up depending on the design that is being given to you. So sometimes you can see here now, this is what we have on desktop. But once this thing started going down, you see that some stuff will kind of get removed. And again, to see this is still showing, but it's kind of easier to scale down. And when you get to a particular breakpoint, you see that that side is no more showing again. Something is now coming here. This is what we call mobile first, like the responsive design in general. Based on the screen, you are displaying the content or different content to the user, or rearranging the content. It might be the same thing or a different content entirely, but you are changing the layout or the arrangement of the content based on the screen, because you have to do it, because if you don't do it, the stuff is not going to display correctly, or it will look somehow on that screen, because there's no way you now be putting these two things down side by side on small screen. Doesn't make sense. There won't be enough space for all this content to breathe. And what do? Mostly on mobile, we normally stack things on top of each other. And on desktop, you only see things being placed side by side, because if you stack them on top of each other, all the spacing at the edge, they are just there for nothing like that. And that's what we're going to be doing here, like that. And again, too, we're going to follow the mobile design first. So which means when we start with our CSS, we're going to focus on the mobile first. Then once we are done with the mobile, then we now look at it. Okay, what are the stuff do we need to do to make the element to look like the way it's supposed to be on the desktop? And what I mean by that, or what I mean by the desktop, that doesn't mean you just abandon the desktop. So you have to be looking at the two of them, that because when you're working on this thing, you need to know how to arrange your element. Because if you don't arrange your element, there's no way you'll be able to pull them side by side like this. So you need to look at the desktop and you need to look at the mobile. So how do I couple my element together so that when I'm applying my style on mobile, it will look like this, and on desktop, it will look like this. So not that you just focus on the mobile element, because that's later on when you're working on somebody, you see that on mobile, some of them are not even showing at all. It's when you now get to desktop, you now be seeing them. So you still need to look at this one, but you have to look at, okay, how do I put them together so that when I'm on mobile, when I'm applying my style, it will not show. And when I get to the desktop, I'm now applying the standard, it's going to come outside the way it's supposed to be. You're still going to look at them, but first, when you're dealing with your CSS, you focus more on mobile, then later on, you now scale it up to desktop like that. And that's how you always work with mobile responsive first. Like means you are approaching the mobile first before going to the desktop. But if you don't want to do it like that, you can start with the desktop too, just that you do more of work because now you start doing a lot of reducing of elements, the sizes, but once you do the mobile first, it's quite easier to just scale up. It's just little property you'll be changing when you are going to desktop. But if you start with desktop and you're coming down, you're going to do a lot of changes, because you need to make sure that it looks nice there, and you're going to be changing what you don't want to change. Because most of the time, all this property is just little stuff you want to change, not much of stuff like that. So let's get into our design, because I can see what we have on desktop is the same thing we have on the mobile. The difference is just the arrangement. So we don't need to focus more on that one. But some design later on, you are going to see that you need to be looking at the two of them every time, because if you don't do that, you are going to miss some elements. Yes, so you are going to miss some elements that you are not supposed to. Even though they are not showing on the mobile, they're still going to be there. It's just that you are hiding them on the mobile. But on the desktop, they are going to come outside there like that. For example, like this, let me see. This crown, no, I think this easy banking too. This is a landing page. So go to the design and look at the desktop here now. So look at the desktop. As you can see, all these items at the top. See, they are showing. But now, if you go to the mobile, or you just start with the mobile, you did not focus on the two of them, you see that they are not there like that. But it has been hidden inside this place. So it's something you need to look at all your content, see where it's changing and what is not showing here. Is it showing? Is everything showing on the desktop? And again, is it showing too on the mobile? If you look at all this one, all this one are showing. So they are showing like that. It's still just your this thing you'll be using the property that we've talked about, and that's what we want to use with this our design that we have here. So let me open VS Code and remove this one. This one is just to quickly explain what you're going to be doing there. That's just a brief of what we're going to be doing. But let's get into our HTML because we need to add the content first. And as you can see from my Explorer here, I already copied all the necessary assets that I need, like the fav icon, the icon card, so this icon that is here, then the product image. And as you can see, we have two images. We have the one for desktop and we have the one for mobile like that. So when we're on mobile, this is the one we need to show. When we're on desktop, this is the one we need to show, which is the background image. And we're going to use the two of them. And this thing will be changing it based on whether we're on desktop or we're on mobile by using that media query that we talked about. So what that thing is just doing is just to condition your whatever you used to do before is what you'll be doing. The difference there is that you are now conditioning that style based on a particular screen size like that. So the other thing that we have there is this our style guide, which is something we're going to get into once we get to the CSS part like that. So, but for now, let's arrange our content. And how do we arrange the content? Because that's very important. That's the most important stuff that you're going to be doing in HTML, arrangement. Your arrangement must be perfect, or it must come out in a way that the CSS will be able to style it like the original design that you are trying to replicate there like that. So just like what we did yesterday. So when you want to do anything, I used to do this thing in my head, but because we are learning, so I'm going to draw the line around everything. And as you can see from here, we have the body of the page like that. So this is going to act as the body. And as you can see here too, just like that yesterday one, we have a container like this. And inside the container, we have the section for this image, and then we have the section for the content like that. And inside the content, every other thing is just simple except this one like that. Again, this one too is just simple. This is just button. It's just simple stuff. And this one too is simple. It's just that it's putting they have a container, and that container is now placing them side by side. So that's just what is going on there like that. So this is how we need to, or this is what we need to do in order for us to be able to apply our style. And later on, once we're on desktop, what we just do is that this container here, or this wrapper here, we just talk to it that just place them side by side, and everything will just work out of the box. So what we need to have here is that our container, which I'm going to use main again. So inside it, we are going to have the section, which I'm going to give it the image like this, so that we can select it from CSS easily like that. So nothing will be there, it's just going to be background. I don't want to use image. We want to do it with background. And as you can see, the reason I'm not using image because it has to cover everything. And you know, it's kind of easier to do with background image. You can do it too with normal image, but we've not talked about that property, which is positioning. So since we've not talked about that, let's use something that we know how to use. Again, we have the section for content. So you can see this this tag here now and this tag. So instead of me using some crazy selector to target them, I can just get them through the class. So section that have class, that have this image class, section that have content class, and need to select them. So inside this one, as you can see, we have this perfume that is here, which is just normal text, which I'm going to use span. So this span, you can think of it like div. But the difference between them is that this one is always inline, not on top of div. It only takes its own space. But span is like div, but it doesn't take space. So you can use this one, or if you want, instead of us using this span, we can just use the P like this, which is going to be this perfume, and I'm typing in small letter because of all the properties that we've talked about, so that we can use them. Normally, I'm supposed to type it in capital letter because we want to use those, we want to do it from CSS. So that's why I'm typing it like that. Again, we have this H1, which is our major title, and I don't want to be typing all this in myself. So I'll just go back into the project folder there like that. Then get our index, open it in another editor, or you can just drag it to VS Code. Well, I don't want to be switching from one tab to another one, so I will just open it with my other editor here, and once it's open, then I can copy any content that I want instead of me typing them out. So scroll down, as you can see, we have this Gabriel whatever stuff. So paste like this. So what other stuff do we have there? Let me close this one. The next thing is this paragraph that follows it like that. So this one too, we're going to have P. But now you see that we have 2P now. So which means we need to give a class. So this one should be class, let me just give it top like this. And for this one, class, I'm just going to give it a description because that's what the thing is doing. So you can give in P also class. Any element can have class, any element. So it's, as long as it's a tag, so you can pass class to it. ID class. Well, the only thing that I don't use ID for is because it's always unique. It's always for one element. Assuming I have other description on the page now, I just need to copy that same class. I don't need to style it again, just once, and need to apply it. You're going to see all this thing when we get to a design that actually have more content. This one doesn't have content like that. And again, they are kind of unique. But that one that I showed before, you see that you have different elements behaving the same way. I can see here, what you have here is what is here, what is here, what is here. The difference is just the content. You can see the same way the styling of this title is, that's the same thing here. The same thing you have here is the same thing here. The difference is just the actual content that is there. The same thing to icon here. The size of the icon here is the size here. So that's the reason why I'm using class, because what you just do is the class you are giving to this one is still the same thing you give to this, and this. Even though the content are different, it's going to style them the same way. Look at it, the one down here too. It's still, so most of the elements, they behave the same. And what do? Once you see that they behave the same way, you give them the same class, and you only do it the styling once. Not that you have to do this one, do this one, do this one, do this one. No, that's not how it works. It will work like that too, but you are just giving yourself work to do, or you're giving yourself much work. And again, when you want to change later on, you have to keep going to different places to change the stuff, which is not ideal like that. So copy the content and paste. So what else do we have on our page? So let me use my view, use not you. So view word wrap so that we can see everything. I don't need to be moving left and right. So it's going to wrap everything. So I don't need to be scrolling left and right like this, because it's not good to always scroll left and right, but you can scroll up and down to quickly see your content like that. So after this, what do we have next? We now have this section here. So I'm going to have a div, which I'm going to call it a price group like that. And inside the price group, so here I'm going to use H3. Inside H3, we have that dollar, but I'm not going to use dollar. I'm going to use Naira. And I think we've talked about this entity code that we can use to generate this thing. What's wrong with my keyboard? This thing has changed to UK. Yeah, let me change it back to US. All right, so then then 8538, I think, is for Naira. 149 then points. Now I do we use cowboy again? So let's just leave it like this. So let's just say we are dealing with ShopRite, so 14.99. But beside it, so I want to use this span now. And what is going to be there is going to be 169, but we want to use that this in again, 8538 like this. So 169 point, just like Jumia that they used to put their stuff there like that. But I think let's just say this thing is 14K like that for now. But normally we used to, or the normal price is 16K, so you just have a reduction of I think 2K, which is like how many percentage is that? We don't care. So save like this. So what else we have? We now have the button. Yeah, that one is CSS stuff. So now we now have the button. Inside the button is not only text that is here. We need to use that icon. And this icon is coming from this folder, images folder. You know, I told you when the stuff is in another folder, you need to reference it first before you get. So this is it there, icon cat. So for the alt, we just say the icon like that in case the stuff is not showing, which we know that it's going to show. And the text there is going to be add to a cart like this. So save, and that's all about the HTML part. So let's go to the page and check. And as you can see, that icon is there and the text is there. But now we need, no, I'm not using the correct code. I think it should be it should be 835. Let me select the two of them. So 8358. Is that what? Yeah. So that's a say. So 8358 will give us the Naira symbol like that. So, and don't forget we said we want to work on the mobile screen first. So which means here we need to go to a small screen. But which small screen are you going to be using to test this design? That's where this our stuff comes in, our style guide. So this style guide, it will tell you, as you can see, so the actual design for mobile, it was on this 375. So if you want to see it and you want to look at it that it's looking okay like the what they gave to you, you have to do the testing. For the mobile, you have to use 375, and for the desktop, you have to use 1440. But when you are working, you don't talk say just because you are giving two like this, that's what you are going to work for. No, whatever you are working on must be responsive. No matter the screen size, it has to be responsive. But there is something known as breakpoints. So, and breakpoints, each of the screen type that we have, and what I mean by type is mobile, tablet, and desktop. They have something known as breakpoint. Breakpoint means where your style is changing to the other one. As you can see from here, you see that as I'm reducing this in, it still maintain that same. But to get to a point, you see that the store will change. So this is what we call breakpoint here. The point that is moving from one design from one layer to another one, that's what we call breakpoints. And when you're working, what you always work again is all these breakpoints because they are like a range. So for mobile now, it's always from 0 all the way. So when you're dealing with mobile now, breakpoints. So when you're dealing with breakpoints like this, so we are dealing with breakpoints. So for the mobile, it's always from 0 to 767 like these pixels. So this is the breakpoint for the mobile. Once you go above this one, you are now in tablet world. So here we have tablet. So tablet like this. Most of the tablet start from these 768 pixels all the way to 1023 like this. So this is the breakpoint too for tablets. Most of the tablet they break here, but that doesn't mean some tablet don't go to 1024. You can see some of them, but once we go to 1024, we revert to them as laptop, but they are just known as a small laptop like that. So laptop again to start from that 1024 all the way to whatever the end, because that's the only thing. Laptop is always, or your desktop or whatever stuff, the screen that you're using, laptop like that. So it doesn't have end, so it can go, but mostly, majorly, most of them start like that 2000 and so forth like that. But whether you're on 2000 or whatever. So my screen now is 1920, and as you can see that it's still showing correctly. Even so, that's just the stuff like that. So whether you go less than that, so if I want to emulate a bigger screen now, what I just need, as you can see that since it's not, but there's no way you're going to see this kind of a screen like that. Majorly, most of the screen stuff at 2000, which is okay. Anybody that now have something above that, just know that we are doing something else that we don't know about. So like that. But majorly, all these people that want to visit your site always fall in this range because it's something that has been carried out, like questionnaire has been carried out, and they've carried out the research and everything. So like 80% of your user will only come from the mobile, and that's why you should always focus more or start with the mobile before you go into desktop, except when you are dealing with some application that they are not meant for mobile view, because like when you are dealing with dashboard now, dashboard is not that okay for mobile, but still people should still be able to see what is going on. They know that because it's not meant for this, it doesn't mean your site should not be responsive like that. But you need to make sure that it is okay. So now let's go back into our style like that, and we start with our basic stuff that we normally do. So we need to do our P0 to reset our padding, so M0 to reset our margin, and the box sizing to border box, which is something I already explained yesterday, so which is from that video of our first class on the design there. So this one now is going to reset some of the elements that we have on the screen. As you can see now, all those spacing and whatever stuff we used to do, they are now, we have the basic stuff. Again, we need our font and this design. Which font are we using? So scroll down, you always see, as you can see, is using Montserrat and this name that is coming from French like this. So this font here is being used for this text. That's why you see that this text here, this Gabriel whatever stuff, this one and this price, they are using this second font, while the other text are using the first. So which means you can see this design now is using two fonts. Sometimes it will be three depending on whatever design you're working on. So here we just need to click on it to go to that place, and as you can see, this one is using 500 and 700, why this one is only using 700. So but once we go to Google, we just include everything. It should open, and once we get there like that, we can pick the font. You can see that yesterday on is still there, so we can go there first and clear, or you can come back to it later on, then remove any one of them you don't need. But right now I'm going to clear it first, then go back to that page. This is the monster right here, so we just need to click on get font, so it will come here. But no, that's not the only one that we need. We still need the other font. So if you need more than one, you need to add them first before you start. It's not a must that you do it like that, but it's always good so that it will combine on the link for you at once, not that you now be doing them one by one. So again, we need to look for this font. So let me just copy the name. You can click on the link, or you just copy the name of the font, type it, press enter, and if you have it, you see that it can see this is the font. So what we just need to do is to click on it, and once we click on the get font. You see that is now 2. So if in case you have more than what you need here, just click on delete, or if you want to remove all of them, you click on this one. So now what we need to do is to just get the embedded code, as you can see, just like that yesterday on. But now, can you see here, it's combining this Montserrat and this other one together. So it's going to give you the two of them. You can see the other one is this, and the second one is this. Again, the weight, the Montserrat, as you can see, is selecting the weight 0 on all the way to this 900. You know, the only thing we just need there is 500 and 700. For this one, it's just 700, but let's just copy everything like that. What is going to download all these weights? That's what it means. Because each one of them, they have separate fonts on their own. So it's not just one, too. There is a font, like the font, you have to include different weights on their own if they have it. Or sometimes they always combine them together. Most of the fonts, it always bundle all of them together in one font. So if you check, you see that the size is really high compared to the one that is separate. So now let's go into our, yesterday we actually used the HTML on. So let's use the CSS on today. You know, when you click on this link, it will give you the link to copy. But there now, we want to do the same thing. As you can see, what we just need to do is to copy this link here. You can see the style already. It's just like you are doing your embedded, but you know we are not dealing with the embedded. We are using our external. So this is what we just need to copy like this. Then go into our CSS at the top before everything, so that we can have access to it. As you can see here now. So the same thing here too. This import, we go to that link and download the font. Or if you don't want to use that method, you can use the method of the link and you paste it inside the head. So any one of them, you can use any one. That's why we started with the link yesterday. I was doing this second one because you know, depending on what you are working or where you are working, so you can't just say, oh, this is what I always do, or this is what is always going to be there. In case you are seeing somebody else code and you are now seeing something like this, it will not look somehow to you that this is not how I used to do it, or this is not how I was being taught to. So any one of them can be used, just one of them. You don't need to use the two of them. So this one too will go online, download all these fonts for us, and now we can start using it. So by default, every text on our page is going to use that Montserrat. So let me get the name. So to get the name that you need to use, as you can see, this is it. And again, too, can you see the family where it's coming from? Sans serif. But you know that one have pencil mark, the other one. That means that one will be coming from serif. As you can see, any pencil marks, they're always from serif, while the one without pencil is always from this sans serif like that. So let me just paste this one like that. But when we have our H1, because the H1 there, its own font family is different. So for the H1 that we have on the page, it should, and again, no, it's not just H1, H3 too. No, we use H3 for that pricing. So we need to change the font family for them. And what do we need to use here? This is what we need to use. So let me just copy the entire line like this. And then, oh, I already have this one, but let me replace it. So now save. So all our H1, H3, this is what we will use. Every other one, we use this one. Or if you want, all heading text, even though we don't have them on our page, you can just do H1, H2, H3, but you know we don't have them. The only thing we just have on our page is H1 and H3. So there's no need of us typing that because we are not using it. So going back to the page, we've not changed this icon too. Let's do that one. So let's go back into our product. Again, for the link, we need the shortcuts, which is this wave icon, so which is coming from images like this, and it is this wave icon. So save, going back to the page, it should pick our icon just like the yesterday one that we have here like that. As you can see, it's showing this one. So today too, it's going to use the same icon once it's downloading. And as you can see that this one has changed to that one. Again too, that one H3 too is using that font. So the next thing we need to do now is to set up our colors. So we need to set up our colors. And if you look at this design, you see that the color that we are using here is still the same thing we are using here. So later on, I'm going to be teaching you how to set up variables there. But for today, I will just be doing copy and paste for them like that. So what do we need to do? Let's start with our body. The same thing that we did yesterday. So the width is going to be 100%. Overflow X, no, the Y is going to scroll if there is content, but for the X, we are hiding it. We don't want anything to be moving on the X axis. Then the minimum height should be 100 VH. So if the content is not up to the screen that you are currently using at that moment, just make sure that the body cover up the entire stuff. And again, too, we need to have background color, which is using this kind of lights or whatever stuff that is, or this butter color. So where is it coming? As you can see, they call it cream here. So let's just get the color like that. So get it and paste the stuff. So save. Going back to the page, we should have that same background because it's kind of close to white, which is cream like that. As you can see, it's just like white because 92% means you are close to white. So just like 8% left for it to be white like that. Again, what do we need to do? As you can see from our design here, we need to move this thing to the center of the page. That container needs to be at the center of the page. As you can see, it's at the center, just like what we did yesterday. So we need to display body as flex, align to center, and justify to center like that. So we need to do display flex, AIC like that, JCC like this, and again to padding, but I don't want the padding on left and right because we want, no, we are going to give it up. If we don't want to do it like that, we can just say 1 rem. Let's do it in another way. Today, no, yesterday we actually said the container should be 90%, but here now we can just say it should be 100%. But the padding is still going to give you that little space of 16 here and the 16 on the other side. This is what I'm saying here. So let's select the main. This one is going to have background color of white like that. Again, too is having border radius. Let me remove this thing. Reduce this one like that. Move it to this side so that we can see what we are doing instantly. And again, this thing is going, I don't want to be moving left and right because I want to see my value. Leave this thing. So where are you? Like this. Shit. What I want to click on is view. See, let me do it from desktop or large screen. I don't have time for this. So view, then word wrap, so that so now it will move to the next line. I don't need to start moving left or right. So we need to, as you can see, it have this kind of a small round edge, but there's a problem. Yeah, there's a problem that is going to happen later on. But for now, let's just do it so that you can see what is going to happen. So I'm going to use 0.5 rem, which is just 8 pixels, like that. As you can see, we have it in that way. So what do we need to do like that? I don't think there should be a problem here, but so now we need to work on the content inside it, because this is what I'm saying here now. So it's going to have that spacing, but going to a bigger screen, we don't want it to be like that. We want it to stop as a definite bulb. We are focusing on the mobile right now, so we're not doing it with any desktop. When we get to the desktop, we're going to do that one. So what do we need to do here? So inside this main, we have a section with the class image. So anywhere we can find section that have class image, that's the and selector. It's not talking about what is inside. It's talking about that element. So it's section with class image. If there is space, that's another thing entirely. So you can see now, image that is inside section. But we only have one of it, so we can just do it like this too. It's still going to work because it will look for any element now that have class image, which is that section, because we only have it once. But later on, in some places, you might actually have one element with this class, another element with this same class, and you want to target a particular one, so you can use the first one that I type at this section. As we have another element on the page that have that class, you have to talk to it that you only want to do it on the one with this element, or not another one like that. So for this image, what do we want to do? There's a problem here now. If I give you background color, you see that nothing will happen. Why? Because this thing, they don't have any content inside it. By default, their height is always based on the content that you place inside that container. But if the stuff they don't have any content, then nothing will happen at all. And what do you want to do? What you want to do is to force the height yourself. And how do you force the height? What we can just do here is to give it a definite height. Maybe for example here, let's use 100 pixels, which is the same thing as 6.25 rem. And as you can see now, it will not, so it doesn't care whether the content is there or no content. It will make sure that the height is this, is not less, and it's not more like that. But I think this thing is small, so let me use around that 300 pixels so that it looks like the original stuff, but I think it's too big too. 250 pixels like this, then save. I think this one is okay. But now it's not background color that we need, actually the image. So background image, so URL, but you don't forget the one we need is for the mobile, because we are focusing on the mobile. Something is happening there already, but I will come back into that one. So as you can see, the one we need to show right now is the preview for mobile, and as you can see, it will show. But now it's doing what we don't want it to do. So first of all, background repeats in case we are using small image later on or something happen or the container. So we don't want this thing to repeat. So no repeat. Again, background size is going to be cover because it's using the original size. We don't want it to use original size. Just cover the stuff. Make sure that it cover the container. Again, too, I think it's okay like that. I don't need to move it to center. Let me see. Yeah, it actually stick to the top. But assuming it's down or it's at the center, you might need to adjust the position. But I think the position is okay already. But something is happening here. As you can see that our this thing is no more there again. Because we apply it on the container, we did not apply it on this element. It will always go out, they always go outside of their parent by default. Like that. But we don't want anything to go outside of it. So what can we do here? We can do our overflow of hidden. So whatever that is going outside, it will just cut it off. And again, too, if you notice, I did not put any padding on this main. Why am I not putting it? Is because of this image. If you put the padding here, it will affect the image. The only place that can you see that there is no space with the image? The only place you are having the spacing is inside this one. So that means, and that is one that one treat a container on its own so that we can talk to it without affecting any other one. The yesterday one, the reason we just put it in here is because that padding is around everything. So what you are going to be using is always depending on the design you are working on. Not that the way you do this one every time, like the way you do this, that's the same way you're always going to do every other. No, some of them you have to apply the stuff in a different way, even though it's the same property, but you have to do it in a different way. So now we are done with this image for now on mobile. We've not done anything. If you go to desktop now, you see that it's doing what we don't want it to do because this is not the way it's going to show. But we know that it's okay now on the mobile. So now let's select the other one, which is going to be what did I give to it? What is the class for that second section? I think going down, yeah, we actually gave it where is that? Okay, contents. So that's the name of the class. So contents like this. So this one now we need to display it as flex, but you know that it always plays them side by side. So flex direction should be column, gap should be maybe around that 1.5 rem. That means the spacing in between each one of them like that, which is really much. Let me just use 0.75, which is 12 pixels like that. Again, we need padding around everything. So top and bottom, the padding should be 1.5 rem. Left and right, the padding should be 1 rem because I need more on the top and the bottom side compared to the left and right like that. It's not a must. You can use the same size, but I think they're actually using the same size. So let me just use the same thing for all of them like that. So 1.5 around everything. So now that container is done. The next thing we need to focus on is the content that is inside it. So you know we have a class top there, which is that first one. The color is different. Again, to the text transform should be uppercase because everything's supposed to be in capital letter like that. Then what's the color that we have there? As you can see, is this kind of the same P, the same color that we have on this P is what you have there. So which means the color now is happening to the two of them. I don't need to repeat myself for that. So what I can just do is to select the P and change the color directly. No need to target the two of them. But if you don't want to do like that, you can do it. But later when you are selecting this one, you have to specify the color too. But since we are using the same element for the two of them and they are using the same color, why not just do it here? Or you give them the same class. You give them one class that is the same. But since they are using the same tag, we don't need to be using class selector. We can just use the name. But what is the color that we are supposed to use there? So let's go back into this page and get the color. I think it should be this one. Yeah, it should be this one. This one. Then going back to the page, this is what I'm saying. Now you see that the two of them, you can see now the two of them change. But this one, this class here is just to affect that particular one alone. But this one, it will look for all the P that we have. But as the way they are different color, you don't need to do it like this. You just target, anytime the property are different, you target them separately. But if they are the same, you look for something that is common to them so that you can do that stuff once. And in case you need to change it later on, you just do the changes once, not that you have to be going to different line. Again, too, there's something we need to do here, because if you look at the text that is here, look at the spacing between this E and P. See that it's not the same thing as what we have. There is a spacing in between each letter. So CSS actually have a property for that, which is known as a letter spacing. So what is the spacing in between each letter or in between each character? That's what you can use there. For example, if I use this big number now, as you can see, it's going to give that 5 pixel spacing in between them. Or for you to see it clearly, 20. You see that it's going to, so in between each character, it will put that spacing. But this thing is too much. I think around 2 pixels should be okay. Or let's just use that 5 pixels like this. And see that it gave us that design that we want. Again, the next thing is this our H1, because we are taking them one by one. And again, too, see, this is a generic setting. So since it's a generic stuff, it's supposed to be at the top. Anything generic, that's why you see that all those H1, H3, you know, they are generic setting. That's why it is up here. This same thing, the same thing here too with this P is generic, but we know in case you need to format the stuff, you can just target it without your class description and it will work. So anything generic, that means it's applying to different elements on the page, they should be at the top. For specific stuff, you arrange them according to the way they are being used on the page. So this H1 that is here, like that, no, the color is different. So let me copy the color too, which is that, where is the color? Yeah, this one. This is what it's using, like that. So color should be this, like that. And as you can see, it picked the color, and I think it's big. The thing is really big. So we need to change the font size. So font size, I don't know, but I will just try 3 rem, 2.5 rem. What is there before is 2? 2.125 rem like this. I think this one makes sense, like that. So what else? This is our paragraph. I think we don't need to do anything. Nah, we need to do. Look at that spacing in between each line. See the spacing. So this is what. So what we did here is letter spacing, but the one we need is in between each line. So that's another property for that. So description like this. Come outside. Okay, I've not done anything with it. So we have something known as line height, not spacing, no, line height. So this one is the height in between each line. Like what? So you can see that this one now was the line, like the height of this line. What is the height of this line? What is the height? What is the height? So you can use this line height to put that spacing that is in between each line. And the way you work with this one, as you can see, you can give it normal, which means just based on whatever the text font size that is there. Or you can give it a number, or you can give it your length, or you can give it percentage. But I normally give it number, because that number now will be multiplied by whatever the font size of whatever you have there. Or it make it easier, so that when you change the font size, it will adjust the line height automatically. Because if you don't do the line height correctly, based on the text you have there, you can see that some of them will just join together. For example, here now, if I use maybe 30 pixels like this, as you can see, that line height looks as if it's okay, right? Now let me update the font size. So once I update the font size, then maybe I'm using 45 pixels like this, because the font is now more than this one. You can see that they are now packing together. But instead of us doing the change, now that you've changed that font size, you need to come to line height too and update it so that it will match whatever you are doing there. But instead of you doing that, we can just use number like this. So once you put a number, whatever number you put there will always be multiplied by the font size. So which means line height too will now be 45 pixels. So whatever font size you use there, you can see now that line, what is doing there is that the height of each one of the line will be the same thing as whatever the font of that text. So which means if I reduce this one to maybe like 16 pixels that is there, as you can see, that line too will adjust. If I increase, it will always depend on that one. But instead of me using this one, it can be that 1.5, like you'll be hearing double spacing, 1.5 spacing. That's what you'll be doing. So this is, as you can see now, to give us. So if I change this font size, or if I leave it to whatever that is there before, that's what it's going to do. And if when it increases later on, whatever the font size, it will now multiply by 1.5. And then whatever value you get, that's what is going to be your liner. But if you want to be tracking it yourself, you can do it. But it's always good that you use number because you want the thing to depend on the font size. If you don't do it, if you don't depend on font size and you don't do it correctly, the text will start going inside each other like that. Or if you use one, it just has normal font size that is there like that. So the other thing what you have here is this, which is what we call it the money group. What did we even call it? So scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Yeah, price group like that. So this price group, nothing much. We just need to display it as a flex, which is going to place them. But you know there are two, so we need to align them to center because that small one is supposed to go to the center of the big one. So align, vertical alignment since they are side by side. So align is talking about vertical, which is supposed to be center, but they are not supposed to jam pack together like that. So gap should be around this one rem like that. So inside this pricing group, we have H3, or we know that we only have one H3. So on the page, you don't need to start. But assuming you have multiple H3, you need to specify where that H3 is coming from. But since it's just one, so we don't need to be doing all those complex stuff. So here now, what do we want? So the color here too should be that our color, color. As you can see, again, I think it's bigger than that. So font size by default, I think this one is 1 point something. Let me use 1.75 RAM like that. And as you can see, it's going to come out big. Again, we have span, which is only that one there. So the color of this one too, I think it follow that P, or let me check. So the color is not black. Oh. Yeah, so as you can see, it's the same thing as that P. So since it's using the same thing, I will just go up like that because I don't want to repeat myself. Then comma like this, then span. So the two of you use the same thing, but there's something we want to do with this one, which is going to be text decoration. So line through that we've talked about before, like that. So save like this, and it should put a line on top of it. And lastly, we have our button like that. So this one too is going to be displayed as flex like that. Then AIC, they need to be at the center. JJC, because in the box, the icon and this is supposed to be at the center. So the gap should be around this. Who send this AI? Who send you? We send you work. So it's supposed to be at the center. No send you. You don't come now. So now we need this gap, but let me accept. Yeah. So this is AI right work giving me what to do. So border none because I don't need any border. Border radius. So then the padding should be around this 1 rem. And as you can see, I have the design like that. But the font size, because it's too small, should be 1 rem like that. But this button is not showing that it is something that is clickable. If you look at it, can you see? So we need to use cursor. This is how you can change that stuff. So it's known as cursor. So cursor have different types. Pointer is the one that used to point like this, but that's not the only one that is there. We have something known as not allowed. So this one I to be telling the user that you are not supposed to be on top of this thing, or it is loading or something like that. There's a lot of them like that. You can see we have all cross, auto, cell, co-resize, context menu, copy. That means the copy icon. So this one is the cross here, which is one that looks like cross like this. You go there now, it's going to give you this cross, whatever stuff, but that's not what we need. What we actually need here is a pointer. So it's going to show to the user that it's something that is clickable like that. But if you look at the original design, there is a desktop preview. Then we now have something there known as state. They used to give you active state. Our active state is telling you that anytime you move to some of these elements, what you need to do. So when we're on top of the element, this is the background that's supposed to be there, not this one. And how do you target that? That's over state. So here now we can do the button over, which what the AI is feeling for me already. Like that, I did not send you to do that one. That's why I used to disable it, because sometimes it used to do nonsense, but most of the time it will do something. So as you can see now, you see the same color. The stuff that does the different there is the lightness. No, normally the lightness is 37. Then we reduce it by 10% so that it can give us the dark version of that color. With HSL, it's kind of easier to do. So now anytime you go there, it will reduce the lightness of the color so that the user can have this kind of a feeling of you are on top of something like that. And that's what you only see almost all the sites used to do like that. Because when you move to their button, you only see this kind of a feeling of you're on top of where is it, Seth? Even is here too, but just that background is just light, whatever stuff that is there. So click on this like that. As you can see, the button is back. They did not even do anything with their own. Let me go to, so can you see it's still the same color, but the what is there before, so they are with that, but that one itself, the darkness is not like much like our own, but it's still giving you this kind of a feeling of something you're on top of it. So that's what you do most of the time like that. You can see this one and look at what they did. When you're there, it's going up, it's just shifting up. So it all depends on what you want to do, just to give the user illusion of something is they are on top of that element. And it normally happen with button like that. So now we are done with the mobile design like this, but this is not what we want on desktop. When we go to tablet now, as you can see, it's not looking nice at all. So what we want to do is that when we're on the desktop or when we're on tablet and above, we want the content to be placed side by side. So, and how do we do that? We just need to go into our CSS down here, because it needs to be down. If it's not down, the way CSS work is that it's always coming from top downward. The last one it says there, that's what it's going to do. So if you move it up and you move the other thing down, it means it will first do that one, it will not do all this one later on. So which means CSS will be seeing everything here, not that media. All your media queries are always down, or if it's something you are doing for all of them in a separate stuff, you can just be, as you are dealing with this one, you'll be creating media query for each one of them. But we don't need to do that with this simple project. So it's just one media query that we need. So media of screen, and we have the mean width of 7, 6, 8 pixels like this. So anytime we enter the screen of this, we want to do something. And what do we want to do? We don't need to do anything with the body. Body is okay. What we want to do with here is this main, like that. And what do we need to do? Even here, so we did not do what's supposed to do, like that. We're supposed to display it as flex. And once I display as flex, it will not work the way it's supposed to be. So we just need to change the direction. We need to change the direction to column, which is going to go back to what we had before. And why do we need to do this? Is because once we get to that base screen now, we want to target that main, and instead of the direction to be column, now it's going to be row. So which means it's going to put them side by side. But now that stuff is gone. Why is it gone? Because there is no content inside it, and we did not mention about the width. What we actually talk about is the height. So we need to talk to it. And how do we talk to this thing, or how do we talk to this box to have the same width as the other one? We can just use our flex 1 1 for them. There are two this in there. We have section. We have the section for the image, and we have the section for the content. So what we can do here is to just say flex 1. You take half, you take half. That's what before you can do 2 and 1. Assuming the two of them now, one is bigger than the other one, we can do like that. But I can see here that they have the same equal width. The same size here is the same here. But assuming this one is small, just like as you can see here now, you see that the side where the content is bigger than this. So which means this one is using, like, what I use here is 3 and this one is 1. But here now they are equal. So since they are the same thing, what we just need to do is that you take half and you take half. What this flex 1 is doing is that, as you can see, is going to set the grow, the strength, and the basis. And when you give it 1 like this, it means half, like half. This one is taking 1, the other one is taking 1. That's 2. So this one, the first one will take 1/2, the second one will take 1/2. If you give the first one 3 and you give the second one 1, so that total number there is 4. So first one will be taking 3/4, the other one will be taking 1/4. But since it's 1 1, so what this means is that 1/2 you,
you two 1/2. You can separate them, but don't forget there are two things that I'm targeting here, not just one item. So that's why it's 2, because this one will take its own, this one too is take its own, which will now turn into 2. Then the first one will be 1/2, the second one too will be 1/2. What's this one? So save, and going back to the page, as you can see now, it's now putting them side by side. But there's a problem, on the mobile, we actually mentioned the height. We are not supposed to do that. So what we can do here is that when we are now on desktop, we don't want to touch the height because the thing will expand automatically when you do the stuff. So we need to talk to the image. Before, the height is just our, so we can just say height is auto. So just follow whatever size that is there. Don't change. This is what used to be there by default, but now we've changed it here on mobile that it's not going to be that. Oh, it's going to be this 15 point, which is at 250. For desktop, since we are putting them side by side, they are going to be stretched.